All right. Hello, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me. Sound off in chat so we can get this thing a rolling. Welcome, everybody, back to the Laughing Dragon Inn. I'm Soup, and we're going to be doing part 2 to Soup Goes Alone. It is based off of, or not based off of, we're going to be using this solo RPG zine called Go Alone. It's a RPG where you're making a sentient magical sword, and you are trying to convince your current wielder, your current bearer, to retire. So the game ends if you can convince your wielder to retire. If you break using a mechanic in the game that's usually represented by a Jenga tower. In this case, we're using this dice roller off to the side here to represent kind of the randomness of like a Jenga tower. Or there are certain prompts in the game that can cause the game to end. As kind of a refresher of how thank you. Thank you, Liz. As kind of a refresher of how the game works, the game is played by every day you will roll a d6. So, for example, I just rolled a 6. So then I would take a regular deck of playing cards, and I'm going to pull 6 cards off of the top, face down. You look at them in the order that you pulled them, and then you consult in the book according to the suit and the number or face card. You consult what's called the oracle, which are these different prompts that kind of help build the story of your sword. So the different suits kind of deal with different types of either memories or like prompts. So the suit of hearts, as a reminder, is memories of blood. So these are kind of vaguely remembered scraps of our past in the hands of other bearers. When you draw for a heart, you are pulling back the veil of your memories and trying to make sense of those images that have faded over decades or centuries of your isolation. For diamonds, they represent your new bearer. So these are kind of when we get to learn about our current bearer, which in this case we have named them Bink. Clubs represents our memories of the dark. So these are times in between bearers when we're like, for example, just laying on the ground discarded, when we are maybe we were buried with our previous bearer, things of that nature. And then the final suit, spades, they represent our current adventure. So they kind of tie in maybe with our current bearer. They kind of tell us more about us and about our current bearer. So, as we read off the prompts, how we've been playing it is I'll kind of present an idea of maybe what the prompt kind of the idea that I get from the prompt, and then I'll look to chat also for any ideas or any ways that we can kind of build it together. Last time I thought it went really well, so we're gonna kind of be finishing up our adventure from last time today. So on our kind of sword damage mechanic over there, I had to close out the window because the computer I'm using, I had to close it out. But I did get us back down to our remaining dice rolls. It just took us less rounds to get there. So if you're keeping track of that kind of thing, that's why it looks a little bit different. But I am going to run through a quick kind of recap of everything that we established in the last episode, and then we can get started on finishing out our sword. So my notes, I kind of broke down into talking about the different characters that we established. So the first character was us, the sentient talking sword. So the notes I have about us are when we're sitting in the dark between wielders, we kind of have these rock therapy sessions by that we project our maker and our first wielder onto a nearby rock, and we kind of talk to it. So this game presents kind of a lot of like things that the sword would kind of like ponder over. For example, like, why was I made a sentient talking sword? How when did I first come to kind of realize it? Throughout making this sword, there have been like issues of abandonment that our sword is dealing with. So these are the kind of things that our rock or our sword, while they're sitting there in the dark, kind of between wielders, questions by talking to a rock that they project a sentience on in the form of their maker or their first wielder. We have learned to protect ourselves when we feel we are being used improperly by exerting some small control over a wielder. So we are a righteous sword, but we are not always used in righteous ways. But we have learned to kind of protect ourselves in that way. We imagine our mortal or human body as the body of our maker. So we have kind of a strong connection with them, and their soul is kind of folded into ours. So that's how we imagine ourselves in kind of a human form. We are a katana. We established that last time. We like to be cleaned. We don't like to be kind of like dirty or covered in any kind of grossness. We established that we protected our new bearer while they were sleeping by alerting them to ambushers and striking the first blow. We feel good about this. We feel like this is kind of us showing our current wielder a righteous path and growing a closer connection to them. We were made as part of a pair, so we have a sister sword. We kind of established that we were a sword that was created to defeat an evil, and we established that the evil's name was Danon, and that we are a sword that is used for violence. So our maker made our twin sword to be used more in like peaceful times. There's kind of a duality where our purpose kind of had a finality to it, whereas our sister sword's purpose was meant to be more long-lasting. And our maker did abandon us for our twin sword. So we kind of feel a sense of longing to not only be like our sister sword, but also to be included in the lives of our twin and our maker. Yeah, you didn't miss anything, Andy. I'm just recapping the last episode. We protected our bearer by exerting our will kind of on them and guiding their hand. So they were in some sort of trouble, we established, and we kind of helped guide their hand. We established that Bink is kind of a new adventurer. They might need some help. And this is where we kind of established that maybe our sword is a bit of a sword mom to them in a way. We as a sword are kind of out of our element with our new wielder. They are doing very kind of like basic quests because they're not a very seasoned adventurer, and trying to kind of get their bearings. We're used to those big like climactic battles. We're not so much used to being used for these very basic tasks, like we said as an example, like that first killing giant rats kind of quest, or like killing kobolds, or, very basic stuff like that. So we're used to kind of these more like big crazy fights. So this basic stuff is really unknown to us as a sword. And so when we're faced with these kind of challenges, we are very cautious and very worried about them. But then they end up kind of being easy tasks for us to complete. And since we're experiencing these with Bink, we're able to kind of like help them and guide them, but also have a togetherness, as this is a new experience for both of us. We have a past wielder that was an evil wielder, and killing the evil wielder was something that we did, and it was a significant kill for us, because it was the first time that we realized that we have agency over our situation, and that we don't have to be used for nefarious purposes if people want to use us that way. We see a potential for good in Bink, our new bearer, but we feel that they're worth kind of taking a chance on. When we first met Bink, we were perhaps a bit cautious about him, because we've been kind of burned before, kind of thing. But we're starting to believe in the good in him, or them. And we keep it a secret from Bink, our current bearer, that we can exert control on them. We kind of feel like that maybe is something that they don't need to know, or they might take offense to it in some way. And towards the end of last session, we told Bink a tale about our original bearer and maker, and about our twin sword, to kind of try and get our current bearer to retire. So the idea for this is that the original bearer knew when it was time to put us down. It took us a long time to kind of accept that abandonment and see that it was a good thing. That was part of our rock therapy. But we find our peaceful sister sword to be kind of an aspirational thing. So we're trying to inspire Bink to put us down in that way. Why do I feel our sword says Baka a lot? Probably does. And the last thing that we kind of established about our sword was we don't feel like less of a person just because we are a sentient sword. So we do feel a certain sense of personhood, even though we are a sword. So kind of some other characters to be aware of are our bearers, our past bearers, and our current bearer. So our first bearer was our maker and our original wielder. So we thought that maybe they were a part of some kind of a rebel faction against the evil King Danon. They are possibly Ganassi or part Ganassi. And our maker, as I said before, they kind of abandoned us after our purpose was finished. But that's something that we've been kind of working on as we've been alone and talking to this rock that we've projected sentience onto. And we can now see it as kind of a good thing. Yeah, so that was about our original maker. Then sometime in the future after that, we had what I called the secretly evil bearer. So they were a wielder who we established was someone who used us in a way that we thought we were being used for righteous purposes, like we originally were intended for. But then we found out later somehow that this bearer was maybe using us for more nefarious purposes. So the next time that we were being used in this way, we rebelled against it. And we also established that the secretly evil bearer broke us. That was kind of maybe the inciting incident to us realizing that we were being used for evil. Then we have what I called the straight up evil bearer. So this was our wielder directly after the secretly evil bearer. So they were an evil sword wielder that tried to use us for nefarious purposes. So we turned on them. It was established that we killed them. And after we turned on this evil wielder, we became kind of an oathbreaker sword. And it was rumored that we were cursed, so we weren't picked up for a long time after that, maybe about 50 years or so. And we established that maybe this straight up evil bear wielded us when we were broken. And then we had floated the idea of maybe a bear after that, that was kind of what I called the quickly abandoned us wielder. A wielder who, after the evil wielder, was maybe someone who sought us out for the purpose of using us for evil, but then was kind of disappointed that we weren't this evil sword we were rumored to be. We weren't this cursed sword, so they cast us aside when we weren't that way. We're kind of a buzzkill in that way for them. And then now we've got our current wielder, Bink, who is someone who is well-meaning and righteous, but we are kind of cautious about them. They found us because they had a need for us. We said they had a prayer for justice that was heard, and they stumbled upon us, fates intervening, perhaps. And we established that Bink, our current bear, sometimes uses us for more utilitarian purposes, such as cutting up food for dinner. We said maybe cutting fruit in a way. But we're kind of taken aback at first maybe about this, but then, when we're being used to cut in this kind of more like peaceful way, we don't dislike it. So we had said that maybe Bink was perhaps like a fruit cutter at an inn. So he's used to more utilitarian blades, like knives, and isn't used to wielding something like a katana. And his their deep dark secret was that they witnessed some injustice and they did nothing. So kind of a Spider-Man-esque character. It was possibly someone close to them, or maybe a neighbor that they weren't close to. We didn't really settle on one either way there. That this injustice was done to, but they are now on their adventuring path because they want to prevent some kind of injustice from happening in the future if they can. And then the only other character that we had established was Danon, Lord of Strength, King of Thieves. He's the big bad guy that we were originally created to defeat. And we had said that this was the last time that being used for killing felt right to us. So that was our rundown of our previous session. So let's pick up where we left off then. And I rolled a 6 to start the day. I drew my 6 cards, so we can get started on talking to the oracle about what we need to do. So I'm going to take a quick drink. Alrighty. So let's start with the Queen of Spades. Alright. So spades, once again, are memories of or establishing our current adventure. So the Queen... Oh, thank you, Marty. I took a big, long... I watched the last episode, which was weird because it's weird to just watch like myself talking to the camera. But I got over it and took notes on the last one. So I can share those with the Discord, or if anybody would be interested in those. Yeah. Okay, so the Queen of Spades reads, "Your bearer brought you into a fight that you had no way of winning, and was forced to flee before death fell on them. What creatures sent you both packing? Pull twice from the tower." Ooh. Okay, well, so we've only got 4 dice remaining. And every time that we roll a 1 on this dice roller, it takes that dice out. So pulling twice from the tower means rolling 2 dice, which is kind of a scary prospect at this time. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So 1, 2. Oh, we lost. Okay, so we lost 1 dice. So we've only got 3 left before we break. So let's see if our little katana can hold up. Let's not roll any more 1s. All right. So what was something that we fought, but we had no way of winning, and we were forced to flee before our bear died, basically? What kind of creature would send us both packing? Well, Bink, as we know, is not a very tough adventurer. They are kind of a new adventurer. So it's called the Thirsting Blade now, Rick. Yeah. So it honestly could be just about anything. Bink is not. Maybe Bink wandered into, a higher level area, to use an MMO term, than maybe they were leveled for, and we had to be sent packing. My other thought is perhaps they were forced to face something from their previous injustice that they had witnessed too soon. Every name is red, a skull. Yeah. What does that mean? Oh no. So that's kind of my maybe, like, I guess deeper thought on it is, like, perhaps whatever injustice that they had witnessed before, they had to maybe face it too quickly, and were forced to kind of flee with their tail between their legs, and perhaps this is kind of a turning point for Bink, where either they will realize that they should retire, or they'll just double down. Not quite sure. Yeah. Another thought would be, it just kind of thinking of the kind of Legend of Zelda references that we've been kind of alluding to, is kind of like in the beginning of Legend of Zelda, when you will stumble upon Hyrule Castle, and there'll be those big, strong, like, guards that you don't really feel ready to face, and you just kind of, like, have to run away from them. Maybe it's the first time they had to fight an actual monster. Yeah, that could be good. Yeah, because we've only established that they've had to fight kind of your basic enemies. Maybe it wasn't an open and shut as they thought. So the confrontation shook their righteousness. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So yeah, maybe the first time that they had to fight an actual monster. Yeah, and maybe it was something like to kind of integrate Marty's thought into that. Maybe it was something, kind of like it caused them to have sort of a moral dilemma. So maybe, like, they were contracted to go and fight, like, let's say, some kind of a monster in their den or something, like a big wild boar or something, to use the example, kind of from our Odyssey game. And we found out that after maybe after confronting it, that perhaps it had a family back in its den, or something like that. So it wasn't as clear cut of a kind of a mission. They felt some kind of a moral dilemma about, even though it's clearly a monster, it still has a family, and is it right for me to kind of kill it, kind of a thing. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? What do you think about that, huh? So yeah, those are kind of I think that unless the chat has since we're running out of dice to have Bink retire. Yeah. So we do have a mechanic going that will hopefully have Bink retire. I mean, we can just build it into the story. But kind of the mechanic of the game is that I've got to start rolling some sixes to get these counters off. That it's basically saying, like, our story that we had told previously about our first wielder knowing when to give us up, and us wanting to aspire to be like our sister sword, would help him towards retirement, or help them towards retirement. So yeah, I think something kind of shaking Bink's confidence in, like, this is the way, this is the only way, is the way of the adventurer, and taking on these adventuring tasks is the only way to prevent injustices in the world. Maybe shaking the confidence in that. So yeah, I like it being more of like a moral dilemma than necessarily like it was a big, especially since we've established us as a sword that's fought these big bad things, even if our bearer isn't necessarily up to the task, that we might still be able to defeat any kind of enemy that's coming our way, so that it would be more of a moral contrast rather than like the creature was too tough to fight. Okay, so our next card is the Four of Diamonds. And again, I'm using these really pretty art cards that are by Loish. You can look her up on the internet. She's got some very beautiful artwork. So our diamonds is again about the bearer, so we're going to be learning more about Bink. Okay, so number 4 reads, violence begets violence, and your bearer has lost many friends and loved ones to other blades. Whose absence do they mourn the most? Pull from the tower. Okay, so let's do our tower pull. Whew, didn't lose any dice. All right. So I would say my immediate answer to this question would be whoever we kind of incited Bink's adventuring kind of path. So that person that the injustice was done to. I had kind of been thinking about this in the past week, that perhaps kind of a backstory, since we had established Bink as somebody who had worked at kind of like an inn, as maybe perhaps like a fruit cutter, that perhaps since if we wanted to go like the route of the injustice has happened to a neighbor, that perhaps they were working at an inn or a bar and saw somebody getting 2 in their cups, and didn't step in to maybe encourage the bartender to stop giving them drinks, or could see kind of their potential for violence, and didn't do anything to kind of get in the way of it. So perhaps that person that they saw at the bar ended up doing something bad, and it was they mourn whoever that injustice was done to the most. Hey, Super Rico, how you doing? So that's kind of my idea on it. That's kind of my first thought. If anybody else has any ideas, though, please feel free to sound off in chat. I would love to hear your ideas. next one is going to be interesting. Marty says, I think that's really solid. All right, awesome. All right, so if anybody else has any ideas, feel free to drop in the chat. I'm going to start on the next one, though. So the next one is a King of Spades. All right. So again, about our adventure, the kings usually hold a little bit more weight to them. So let's see what that's about. Okay, so after centuries of experience, everything you have learned and seen, you should have known that the smallest enemies are sometimes the most dangerous. You should have paid attention, not let your bearer tackle this fight without you guiding their hand. But you didn't, and now they are bleeding. Do not discard this card. Okay. Place it where you can see it. If this is the fourth king you have drawn, it's not. I believe it's only the second one. The injury your bearer sustained eventually overcame them, and they died. Ooh, wow. Once again, you return to the dirt. Okay, well, good thing that didn't happen, because then our game would be over. So, yeah, I believe we've only come across one king. Let me just check and pull them out. I did save our previous pulls. I meant to say that at the beginning, is that I did not shuffle the deck. I kept all of our pulls separated. Might have even been our first king, but I thought we had a second king. Nope, it's in fact, our first king. All right, so I'll keep that out where we can see it, just in case that comes into play earlier. So I do think that this plays into a bit of what we've established about this sword, that we perhaps don't have a lot of experience with smaller enemies. And maybe this was at a point where we had fought some kind of the more basic things. And we had let maybe Bink try and handle it themselves, and they weren't quite ready. So they had a tough time with it, and now they are bleeding. Oh no. Oh no, Bink. Please be careful. All right. So our next up is the Six of Clubs. All right. So as a refresher, clubs are memories of the dark. So these are times in between wielders. It's dangerous to go alone, Bink. Yeah, come on. That's the name of the game. All right, so the 6 reads, not all swords are imbued with personality and sentience. Was yours gifted to you, or did it develop on its own? Do you even know the nature of your existence? Is it? Okay, so I think that we've already kind of previously established this a little bit. That I don't know that we've necessarily established if our maker meant to imbue us with a personality and a sentience. I don't know that we've established if it was kind of gifted to us or developed on our own. We have established that our original maker did want to make a very powerful sword. So we do know kind of that aspect of the nature of our existence. But yeah, I'm not sure if our maker would have necessarily set out with the idea of making a sentient sword. If perhaps because their plight was so great, trying to defeat Danon, the evil king, that perhaps it was accidental. How do you prove that you exist? Maybe we don't exist, Vivi. Oh no. Oh no. Dropping the Final Fantasy IX on us here. So yeah, we have established that our sister sword is in a way something that we kind of look up to, or we aspire to. So yeah, I almost feel like, to me, I feel like both of us should be sentient. Both us and our sister sword, the Sword of Peace. But perhaps maybe it was accidental in a way. Perhaps it was, our original makers kind of plea for their own prayer for justice in a way. That maybe their wishes and their prayers kind of gave us sentience, perhaps. As we had kind of established in the last game, we said that kind of their soul was folded into our blade. So I kind of like the idea of perhaps our maker didn't specifically set out to make a sentient sword with kind of a personality, but it just happened. A passing spirit that was drawn to our original wielder's mission, maybe a family spirit or a house forged spirit of some sort, inspired by their sense of justice. Oh, I do like that. Perhaps some twin spirits from their ancestral line that were kind of drawn into these two sister swords. I like that. Yeah, I think if anybody else has any ideas, feel free to add them in. But I like that perhaps in the making of us and our sister sword, that these two twin ancestral spirits heard our makers kind of pleas, their prayers for justice against Dan and the evil king, and imbued themselves into these swords, granting them sort of power in a way. All right. Next up, we have the 10 of Diamonds. Alrighty. So let's learn some more about Bink. Okay. So, number 10 reads, you are starting to realize that your bearer enjoys violence as much as you used to. Well, that doesn't quite fit what we've got going, but let's read the rest of it. And at times you begin to feel flashes of the old thrill returning, but something keeps you hoping for peace. What is it about your bearer's nature that helps you keep the love of the fight at bay? Pull from the tower. Oh my gosh! Oh, wow! Thank you so much, Frank, for rating. Oh, wow! Hi, everyone! Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the raid, Frank. Woo! Thank you so much. So for everyone coming in, I and Chat and I are making a sentient sword together. So what we do is we pull playing cards from a deck based off of a dice roll from a d6, and then I consult this book called Go Alone. It's a solo TTRPG if you're interested in it. And it has these different prompts here in the book. I'm using the PDF version on my iPad, and we get to kind of write the story about our sword. So this is part 2 that you're coming in on. So we've already kind of established some things about this sword, but if you would like to stick around and help us write this sword's kind of past and current adventure, we would love to have you stick around. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. So we had just pulled the 10 of Diamonds. The Diamonds suit will tell us more about our bearer, our current bearer. So our current bearer we have named Bink, perhaps named after Link. intellectually distinct link. And they're the champion of bravery. They're kind of a new adventurer, a bit of a green adventurer that our sentient sword is helping. So welcome, everyone. So the 10 reads, you're starting to realize that your bearer enjoys violence as much as you do. At times you feel flashes of the old thrill returning, but something keeps you hoping for peace. What is it about your bearer's nature that helps you keep the love of the fight at bay? Pull from the tower. Okay, so we need to do our power roll. So this mechanic is basically we have to roll these dice. We've been rolling 100 d6s, and every time that we roll a 1, one of our dice gets pulled out of our pull. So we've currently rolled actually 24 times. Our counter is a little bit off, and we're down to 3 dice out of 100. So if we get down to 0, our adventure ends and we break. Let's go ahead and pull from the tower or roll our dice. Okay, we didn't lose any dice. Woo! Great. We're not breaking today, baby. All right. So, we've kind of established that we are not necessarily a sword that enjoys violence. We're more of a righteous sword. We wouldn't necessarily the old thrill that we're afraid of returning is not necessarily one of killing and violence, but it is the thrill of doing righteous acts, and perhaps killing for righteous purposes. So perhaps we are starting to realize that instead of our bearer enjoying violence, perhaps we are starting to realize that our bearer enjoys perhaps doing the activities, the quests that they're doing for righteous purposes, but that also kind of gives us this a cautious feeling. Liz says, I was thinking instead of bloodthirstiness, it's more of Bink getting a big head. Yeah. So maybe it's building a confidence in him that is perhaps unearned at this point. Perhaps it's much too much of our sword mom intervention that's causing them to feel like, oh, I'm the one that's doing all of this. Yeah, I like that, Liz. Yeah, we can totally go with that. So what is it about your bearer's nature that helps you keep the love of the fight at bay? It's time to sword mom up in this biz. Yeah. So maybe it's our bearer's naive kind of nature, that, or maybe it is that big-headedness, that confidence, that Bink unrightly feels that they've earned, that we go, oh, they aren't quite ready, for the real world, the big fights, that we still need to try and convince them that, hey, you need to settle down and retire with me. So yeah, I think that's what we'll go with for that one. If anybody has any other ideas to add to that, though, feel free to sound off in chat. All right, and our last pull for this adventuring day, as it is the Four of Clubs. Yeah, I think that they're not too far gone yet in general, right? Yeah, we've kind of established that we are cautious about Bink, possibly falling to the dark side, or, whatever metaphor that you want to use. But and there's still like a very green adventurer, so they're still, easily kind of swayed by things perhaps. But yeah, they're not too far gone in a way. They are still kind of beginning their journey. They still could maybe be swayed into retirement early. So our Four of Clubs. So clubs are memories of the times between bearers. So four says, you were not born, you were crafted. Who made you and why? Well, we've already pretty well established that. We were crafted by our maker, along with our twin sword. And we were made for the purpose of defeating the evil king Danon. Sorry, not Bannon. Danon. So that is the purpose that we were made for. Okay. So that concludes that adventuring day. Hydrate. Oh, thank you, Liz. I do need a drink. And thank you, everyone that came in on the raid and has given us a follow. Thank you so much. We don't have any kind of a follow alert, but I am reading all of them that came in. So thank you so much to all of you. Janelle Santa Cruz that followed. Mustache Doctor followed. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it here. Jordan Jones just gave us a follow. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jordan, come on, get with it. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for the follow. Feel free to check us out. We stream every Monday and Wednesday night, and then every other Sunday morning. And we do TTRPG content here. So we don't just do Dungeons and Dragons. We sometimes do fun little RPGs like this. We do like Stirs Without Numbers. We talk a lot about vampire and those kind of games, the World of Darkness games. We do a bunch of different stuff here. So this is kind of a midstream plug for for our channel. If any of that sounds kind of like up your alley, if you like kind of fun, silly times with friends, we have a Star Wars game running. We've got kind of different flavors for everyone. So please feel free to check out all of our other games that we've got going. And you can always catch up with our games on YouTube. We've got a YouTube channel. Just search Laughing Dragon Inn on YouTube. That should take you to it. And we've got playlists for all of our ongoing campaigns, if that's your bag. Marty says Bannon might have been a better evil overlord name for no political ulterior motive at all. Of course. Andy says, I almost held up the Star Wars RPG book to my camera as if that would help. Hey, in spirit, it would have helped. And Marty says, I mean, now you for sure know where the book is. Yeah. Oh. And yeah, make sure to check out our Twitter for when we're going live. It's usually at 7:30 Eastern time on the weekends, 9 a.m., maybe a little bit later, 9:30 a lot of times on Sunday mornings. So check us out. And if you didn't think it was funny or you didn't like it, watch it again, because it was. It's an ongoing joke we have. You'll know that if you check it out. All right. So we concluded our adventuring day. Our next adventuring day is going to begin. Before that, we have to see if we can appeal to Bink to retire. So we do that by rolling our d6. And if we roll a 6, which we did not, we get to take a marker off of a card that we've got over here. I roll a 3. Sorry, guys. And if we can get all of the markers off of there, then we can convince Bink to retire. All right. So now to begin our new adventuring day, I'm going to roll our d6 again. And then I'm going to draw our cards for this adventuring day. Oh, now I draw or roll a 6. Gosh dang it. Of course. So I roll the 6. So I draw 6 cards. Alrighty. Go to sleep, Bink. Yeah. He's to sleep for like 100 years or something. Wake up then. All right. So, our first card is a King of Hearts. Oh no, we drew another king. Oh, and of hearts no less. So, hearts, for those that are just joining us, is the suit for memories of blood. So these are usually memories of our killing past, our past as kind of a sword. And the kings in this game usually aren't great. So we've got a not great suit paired with a not great face card here. So let's see what this has in store. Down in the dark, where you were dropped, your new bearer plucked you from the dirt, but they did not escape this place unscathed, and you were given a taste of flesh for the first time in decades. Which guardian of the deep places were you brought to bear on, and what lasting mark did they make on your bearer? Do not discard this card. Place it where you can see it. If it's the fourth king you've drawn, it is not. It is the second king that we've drawn. The injury that your bearer sustained eventually overcame them. Luckily, that did not happen. This is only our second one. Our killing past was my emo band in high school. Yeah. Okay, so down in the dark, you were dropped. Where you were dropped, sorry. Down in the dark, where you were dropped, your new bearer plucked you from the dirt. But they did not escape this place unscathed. Okay, so this was when Bink first heard, or when we first heard Bink's cry for justice, their prayer for justice. Okay, yeah, so it's when we first heard the prayer for justice. Bink picked us up, but wherever we were, Bink didn't make it out unscathed. Okay, so maybe Bink had to fight their way out. Well, we had established previously that perhaps one of our first things that Bink had to fight was your classic first quest is the giant rat's quest. So perhaps we were dropped down into like a sewer or something. We had established that perhaps our previous wielder to our current one was somebody who kind of discarded us quickly and abandoned us. Because they found out that we weren't the evil sword of legend that they thought that we were. So yeah, perhaps they just discarded us and we ended up in a sewer or something. And our new bearer found us there. And had to fight their way out, fighting these big giant evil rats. Well, not necessarily evil, but giant rats. Sound off in chat if you've got any other ideas, and I'm going to take a drink. Marty says, yeah, I think that tracks. Flush down a toilet like a common alligator. You know, all those alligators that you flush down your toilet. So yeah, I think that makes sense with kind of our established narrative that we've got going. But if you have any other ideas, feel free to drop them in chat and I'll get to them after we look at the Two of Hearts. So another memory of blood. Marty says Bink is in his crawling around in the dark came across us in a moment of desperate need. Oh, I like that. I like adding that little wrinkle to it. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So we kind of answered his prayer for justice in that way. All right. So another memory of blood, number 2, reads, you have been here for such a long, long time, and any sense of the presence of the one who brought you here vanished long ago. What happened to leave you in this place? Okay, so we kind of just said that. Perhaps our previous bearer was the one who abandoned us quite quickly, just kind of discarded us, and we ended up in the sewers. So yeah, that one, easy peasy. All right. So next up is the Nine of Spades. All right. So Spades tells us about our current adventure that we're on. And number 9 reads, during battle, your bearer briefly considered staying their hand as the enemy turned to flee, but a mental push from you was all it took for you to feel the bite of flesh one more time. Is your bearer aware of what you did? Pull from the tower. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull from the tower. Whew! Didn't lose any more dice. Okay. Safe one more pull. All right. So during your battle, your bearer briefly considered staying in their hand as an enemy turned to flee, but a mental push from you. So maybe, since we've already established we're kind of a sword mom to them, and we've established that we exert our control over them, but Bink is not necessarily aware of it, and we really aren't telling them. So perhaps I could see this as perhaps a turning point in that established narrative that we've kind of been going for. Maybe we did it in a way that Bink was aware of what we were doing. And that made Bink maybe start to kind of question us and our role in everything. And he says, yeah, I feel like we got down here fast, but they're lasting, yeah. Yeah, it kind of seemed, actually, because when I redid the rolls, I actually got down to this point about 2 pulls faster than we had previously done. I think we were at like pull like 22 or something like that previously. But yeah, you get down kind of fast, and then whew, you really start start dropping off, which is great. We get to keep going. Okay, but going back to the prompt, yeah, I could see this as maybe kind of like a turning point in our adventure with Bink. Maybe we showed our hand, and Bink starts to question how much control they really have over wielding us. Start to question maybe our motives in all of this. Or maybe they are still unaware, since we have previously established that we are not telling them that we have any sort of control over them. But maybe it's a good opportunity for kind of growth in our relationship. Also, that maybe we go through a period with Bink where they don't trust us as much, but maybe then we get an opportunity to tell them why we are able to exert control. Maybe that leads to that they're starting to get cocky and feel themselves pull we just had. Oh, yeah. Or maybe that starts to put that cockiness in check a bit. Maybe they start to question, Bink starts to question, were they ever really in control? Maybe they feel like, because Bink's original motive we've established is kind of that they wanted to become a better kind of sword wielder or adventurer to prevent future injustices in this world. So maybe they feel like they still aren't quite good enough yet, or quite getting as much of a handle on it as they thought that they were. Or this has happened since, yeah. So yeah. I think that I like that perhaps this plays into the cockiness that Bink, we established, has been starting to feel. And maybe that puts that cockiness in check, but in a way that makes them question us as a sword in a way. So yeah, I like that. Okay. Next up, we've got the Three of Clubs. Okay. So clubs represent memories of the dark. So in between are wielders. Okay, so the 3 reads, you have been given many names in your life, usually by those whose minds were too closed off to hear your voice. What is the true name you gave yourself, and how did you decide which bearers to share it with? Oh, interesting. Okay, so we're gonna come up with a name for our sword. All right, so let's hear from the chat. What name have we given ourselves? What's our true name? I love the concept of true names. As for the question of how do you decide which bearers to share it with, I think we definitely shared it with our first maker. Perhaps our true name was the name of our since we've established that we are an ancestral spirit that is imbued in the sword, maybe our true name is the name of that spirit that was imbued in us. Or Andy says the mistress sword. Yeah. I like that also. Maybe that's our subtitle, in a way. But as far as like how do we decide which bearers to share it with, I think perhaps maybe only our maker and Bink are the only ones to know our true name. I think that a lot of our past bearers have been kind of evil, or maybe the only one was that secretly evil wielder that we had, that maybe we thought that we could trust them with our true name, and that just kind of deepened the burn whenever we found out that they weren't quite as good as we thought. Liz says, I really like simple names like Dee Dee or Ruth. My ancestor Dee Dee. I like that. Dee Dee, the mistress sword. Or maybe going off of our Legend of Zelda, intellectually distinct Legend of Zelda, maybe it's Belda. Or Melda, or something like that. Esmeralda. Marty says, my wife suggests Stabitha. Okay, well, Stabitha is very good. Yeah, I think, sorry Liz, I think Stabitha wins out over Ruth. So Stabitha, the mistress sword, is our true name. So while we move on to the next prompt, I want what's the spirit in the master sword? Fee or Phi? I'm not sure. Somebody do a Google on that. Until then, Stabitha. Oh, maybe Ruth is the sword of peace. Yeah, our sister Ruth and Stabitha. Their parents really went to two different ends of the spectrum on that one. All right, so we've got Stabitha and Ruth. Stabitha, clearly the sword meant for violence. Ruth, the sword meant for peace. All right, so next up is the Seven of Hearts. So we've got another Memory of Blood. Annie says it's from everyone's favorite Zelda game, Skyward Sword. It is Fee. Okay, well, sorry Fee. We're gonna go with Stabitha and Ruth. Marty says, only your dumb game for babies that everyone hates, Andrew. All right, so 7. All right. Not everyone you were brought to bear on deserved to die. Which killing still haunts you? Pull from the tower. There are dozens of us. Yeah, literally dozens. All right, so let's do our pull from the tower. Still staying strong. Got a lot of chips in us, but we're still staying strong. All right. So, not everyone we were brought to bear on deserved to die. Which killing still haunts us? Interesting. They're re-releasing it. It has to have a fan. No, they're re-releasing it just for you. So, someone that didn't deserve to die. Well, we've established that we had an evil wielder who perhaps brought us to bear on several people that we didn't think deserved to die. So perhaps all of those killings still haunt us. Or maybe there was, since we do turn on that evil wielder, perhaps it was the first killing by that evil wielder that made us realize, oh crap, we're being used for these evil purposes again, and then quickly we turn on them and kill them instead. So that first killing by the evil wielder would be one that would haunt us. Or maybe because we had established that our secretly evil wielder, there was something that broke us whenever that wielder was wielding us. So maybe perhaps there was a killing that broke us that also made us realize, hey, we're being used for some kind of an evil purpose. But yeah, chat, let me know what you think about that. I think if I had to choose between the two, I think maybe the one that would haunt us would be the one that broke us, since that was kind of a significant turning point also. That we realized that this wielder that we previously saw as being righteous was perhaps not being righteous. And perhaps that came in the form of killing someone, and the killing of that person broke us, and that haunts us. But let me know what you think. Chat. While you guys are thinking on that one, waiting to respond, I'm going to go ahead and look at the next one so we can get started on that, which is going to be the Eight of Spades. Marty asked, so we turned on them shortly after that. So we actually haven't established what happened with that secretly evil bearer. The one that we turned on was the one after that. So kind of how it happened was we had that secretly evil bearer that what we thought was using us righteously, and then we broke, and it turned out that they were using us for evil purposes. And then right after that, we had a bearer who was using us for just straight up evil. And that was the one that we turned on and killed. And that was when we realized that we had the ability to kind of turn on someone if we felt that we were being used evilly. Liz says maybe it was another blacksmith, one that reminded Stabitha of her maker. Oh, yeah. Yeah, perhaps that secretly evil bearer was another blacksmith. So we thought, hey, we are going to not be used for evil. This wielder reminds us of our first wielder. So surely they should be using us for a righteous purpose. Or are you saying maybe the person that was killed and that haunted us was another blacksmith? I like it either way. Either that secretly evil wielder was another blacksmith, or the person who it haunted us was another blacksmith that reminded us. Maybe our secretly evil wielder could tell that we were close to breaking, and went to a blacksmith that reminded us of our original maker, and we were forced to strike them down because they refused to fix us, to make us better. And that was kind of the thing that broke us. I like that actually a lot. Maybe both. Our secretly evil wielder was a blacksmith who used us to take out a rival. Oh, okay, yeah, I could see that also. Yeah, so I think somewhere in that wieldership, a blacksmith that reminds us of our maker should be kind of in play. I do kind of like perhaps both were blacksmiths, in that after we broke, we were kind of discarded by that secretly evil wielder. So yeah. And maybe perhaps a prompt in the future will bring us back to that so we can establish more about it. So we've got the Eight of Spades, which Spades tells us more about our current adventure. So 8 reads, tensions run high and fights break out over even imagined slights, but for once your bearer kept a level head, even when you were screaming at them to let you loose and put you to work. Who deserved to bleed but walked away unscathed? Pull from the tower. Okay, so let's roll. Still no dice missing. We're doing good there. Okay, so tensions run high and fights break out over even imagined slights. But for once your bearer kept a level head, even when you were screaming at them to let loose and put you to work. Who deserved to bleed but walked away unscathed? This goes a little bit against kind of what we've kind of established as far as like screaming at them to let us loose or put us to work, but perhaps it does kind of lean into the established story that we have been going for, that now Bink has learned about our ability to exert control, and maybe we were not necessarily screaming at Bink to let us loose and put us to work, but perhaps we were screaming at them to kind of like trust us and use us, and to protect Bink, and maybe he's being a little bit untrusting of us, and so yeah, so maybe it was a situation where Bink should have fought back, or should have helped someone or something, and they decided not to because they don't trust us to use us. We're going through kind of maybe a rough patch with Bink in the way. But yeah, what do you guys kind of think of this one? Marty says, I like how that folds back in on itself. Yeah, like fearing our level of influence or control, he doesn't use us in defense or such. Yeah, I like that. That maybe there was a fight that broke out that he could have stepped in, especially given his backstory that we've established for Bink, that he does want to kind of like fight against these injustices. But perhaps because he's untrusting of us right now as his only weapon, that he decided to not step in because he doesn't trust us to not exert any kind of control. Yeah. All right, so that concludes another adventuring day for us in Bink. We're going through a little bit of a rough patch with our good boy Bink. So maybe our next adventuring day will yield new results. So since we're at the end of a day, let's see if I can try and roll a 6 and get us closer to retiring Bink. And that's a 5. Gosh dang it. Dang. All right. So no closer to retirement. Let's see if we can, what our new day will bring. I rolled a 5 again. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cards pulled. All right. So we've got the 2 of Spades is our first one. One of my favorite artworks by Lewis. Let's see. So that is our current adventure. So if not the deep, dark places, then it is the high places. What is your bear seeking at the top of the world? Pull from the tower. Okay, so let's roll again. Oh no, we lost the dice. Ooh, we're getting close. We're getting close to breaking there. All right, so what is your bear seeking at the top of the world? Pull from the tower. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what, maybe some sort of metaphor for clarity or something like that. My other thought goes to what Bink could be seeking at the top of the world is perhaps something to do with our past. Something maybe to do with our original bearer. Maybe some kind of telling of our first takedown of Danon, that evil king, and our first maker. Since we had told Bink about our past as kind of an aspirational story for retirement, maybe in this time that they're not being very trustworthy of us, they want to find out more about us. So they start seeking that out. Let me know what you think in chat. And I'll go ahead and start on the next card while people are dropping their ideas. So our next pull, is the 3 of Spades. So we've got another adventure card. The 3 reads, today was particularly bloody. Who was your bearer fighting, and how many times did you have to fight something today? Pull from the tower. Okay, so let's see if we lose another dice. Oh no. Oh no. We're getting closer to breaking. Oh no. Guys, we're real close here. Ooh. Just one dice remaining. All right. So today we had to fight a bunch of things, basically. So I think that this kid just won't go to sleep. Yeah. So I think that these two kind of tie into each other. If we're going with the idea that I was saying, that perhaps Bink is seeking out something about our past. Perhaps there is a Hyrule Castle situation going on, or a intellectually distinct Hyrule castle, a sly rule castle. I don't know. That they have to that our good boy Bink has to kind of go into there, and maybe it's overrun with monsters. Maybe it's been abandoned for a while. So Bink's got to kind of fight through everything, and perhaps this is Low Rain Tower. Yeah, Low Rain Tower. So perhaps Bink has to use us to fight through Low Rain Tower, and I would imagine that he would be doing so kind of begrudgingly. Kind of, they aren't really trusting us right now as a sword, but kind of to learn more about us, to maybe gain some of that trust back, the first step is having to use us to fight their way into our past in a way. But if anybody else has any ideas, feel free to drop them in chat. But that's just where my mind goes. Alrighty. So next up, we've got the Six of Hearts. So another memory of blood. Notoriously our favorite here. Alright. So 6 reads, who was the mightiest person you brought to an end? Who was the lowliest? Okay. So probably the mightiest person that we brought to an end, I would say, would probably be Danon. That original person that we were kind of made to defeat there. And maybe not to the rest of the world, but at least to us. Perhaps the lowliest person that we brought to an end was that straight up evil bearer that we had. We don't think much very highly of them, or think that maybe they were taking the easy way out by kind of being evil or something. That would be kind of my thought on that based off of what we've established so far. Once again, though, if anybody has any other ideas, feel free to drop them in chat on that one. So mightiest person, I would say, would be Danon. Lowliest person, at least in our eyes, I think would be that straight up evil bearer. Or maybe even the one that we felt kind of betrayed us in a way. The one that we thought was using us for good and then was using us for evil. I think either one of those two, although I don't think that we brought, we haven't established that we brought the secretly evil bearer to an end. So I guess if we're talking strictly people that we brought to an end, it would probably be the straight up evil bearer. That would be my answer. Okay, next up we have the Four of Spades. I like the second one. Okay, yeah, let's go with that then. All right, so we're going to learn some more about our current adventure. Who does your new bearer travel with, and why don't you trust them? Pull from the tower. All right, so let's roll our last remaining die. We're safe. Okay, so perhaps on their way to Lone Rain Tower, as we've established as the intellectually distinct name. Maybe they had to join up with someone. Don't trust that horse. Epona. A horseo. Yeah, so maybe a horse is someone we don't trust. What is this creature? But yeah, my mind immediately goes to perhaps we had to enlist some sort of guide or someone to help us get into low rain tower, especially since Bink isn't on the best of terms with us right now. Maybe he trusts somebody else more over us right now. And we think that maybe this person that Bink is traveling with, we don't trust them because we feel like they are going to lead Bink astray, perhaps. Or try and get Bink to continue adventuring, since we are trying to convince him to retire. What do you guys think? You think it should be a horse, as Andy suggests? You think it should be somebody that we're traveling, or that Bink is traveling with, that we don't trust? What do you guys think? And our next card is going to be the Two of Clubs. Marty says, "I think the horse plays to the theme." Okay, yeah. Then let's have it be the horse then. Maybe Bink needed to get a horse to travel to Low Rain Tower, and that horse just does not doesn't look trustworthy. I don't trust that creature. What is this horse? All right, yeah. Let's go with that. All right. So, our memory of the dark for number 2. One event from your past keeps playing over and over in your mind. You have remembered it so many times that you are unsure whether it ever even happened or whether you are simply remembering a fantasy. What is it? Draw another card from the deck and follow its instructions. Oh, interesting. Prince Yeldo. You had to go back in time to learn a tune of friendship. It's a whole thing. Yeah. We have Bink and Prince Yeldo. I like it. Okay, so what is one event from our past that keeps playing over and over in our mind that maybe we are unsure that it ever even happened, or whether we are simply remembering a fantasy? I think that maybe any of our kind of like big established events could qualify for this. I think maybe the one that I would gravitate towards would be us turning on our evil wielder. Maybe that kind of feels like it was so unreal to us, that kind of first memory of exerting any kind of control, that it would kind of feel like a fantasy. But yeah, that's what I would think. And I think that it also ties into the kind of the current state of our adventure right now, since Bink isn't really trusting us, since we kind of exerted control over him in a way that he saw, and yeah, maybe that's making us think of that time a lot, and question it a bit. So this prompt asked us to draw another card from the deck and follow its instructions. So I got the Jack of Spades. So the Jack of Spades reads, your nature means that you can penetrate defenses that mundane swords have no chance of breaching, but it comes at a cost that your bearer will never know about. What is it? Pull twice from the tower. Oh, no. Okay. So let's roll one time. Okay. Let's roll the second time. Ooh, okay, we're still safe. Whew. Okay. So, all right, back to the prompt now that we've gotten the heart pounding bit out of the way. Your nature means that you can penetrate defenses that mundane swords have no chance of breaching, but this comes at a cost that your bearer will never know about. What is it? We are the invincible katana, the mistress sword, Stabitha. Okay. So yeah, maybe that way that we can penetrate defenses in a way that mundane swords have no chance of breaching is that we can kind of exert our control and our knowledge on our bearer. But it comes at kind of like a maybe more of like a moral cost for us. Like, should we be doing that? Should we be exerting our control in that way? Maybe we don't always necessarily feel good about doing that. That's kind of that's where my mind kind of goes first. But I'd love to hear from chat if you guys have any ideas on this one. Just to kind of read the prompt again. Your nature means that you can penetrate defenses that mundane swords have no chance of breaching, but this comes at a cost to you that your bearer will never know about. What is it? Pull twice from the tower. My only other thought would be perhaps it's the physical toll that it takes on us. We've seen that kind of is sometimes that we've exerted control in the past to break through defenses that came at a great kind of physical cost in the sense of us breaking. The risk of breaking seems incredibly persistent or prescient now. Yeah. So maybe it's a more of a physical cost, a physical toll. That every time that we exert this kind of control, that it costs us physically. My other thought is memory. Oh, okay. Like every time that we exert this control, maybe we lose some of our memory. Maybe that's tied into kind of going off of both of those ideas. Maybe it's tied into the physicality. Maybe as we're breaking and chips of us are being broken off, perhaps those are memories that we are also losing. That's why we don't remember all of our spiritual origins, or it takes rock therapy to remind us of simple lessons. Yeah, so I think maybe I like the idea of kind of combining those two things. Since we have established that we are kind of a soul that is tied to the maybe the physical form of the sword, that as we exert our control, we break and kind of chip away kind of that physical toll, but that also means that pieces of our memories are also kind of chipping away. We aren't remembering kind of our spiritual origins. We need to kind of talk things through with rock therapy to kind of remind us of our past in a way. So yeah, I like that. Okay. So that is the end of that adventuring day. We get to do another roll to see if we are one step closer to Bink retiring. That's at 2, so that's not going to be a step closer. So let's do another adventuring day roll. That's going to be 5. All right. It's kind of looking like we might break before we get a chance to retire poor Bink. Sorry, Bink. Okay. So our first card is going to be the 7 of Diamonds. All right. So let's go up to Diamonds, which are telling us more about Bink. So 7 says, What does your bearer hope to achieve with you in their hand? Do you think their goal is realistic? Pull from the tower. Okay, so let's do that roll. Whew, we still have our last dice. Okay, whew, all right. So I think that we've already kind of established this in the past. That our bearer kind of hopes to achieve kind of a sense that they would be able to prevent any future injustices. And they are hoping to achieve that possibly through being a kind of mighty adventurer. As far as do we think that their goal is realistic? I think that perhaps because we've been burned before by so many bearers that maybe we don't feel that their goal is very realistic. Maybe that's part of why we are trying to convince them to retire, to seek other ways at stopping injustices rather than with sword in hand. So, yeah, I think that we've already kind of answered that one in a way. But if anybody has anything to add to that, feel free to sound off and chat, please. Okay. Next up, we have the 9 of Hearts. All right. So, the 9 of Hearts, another memory of blood. Okay. Once, centuries ago, you were wrested from the hand of your bearer and used to slay them. What were their final words to the one that killed them? Pull from the tower. Okay. Let's see what this is. Okay. Whew. We're safe. Another roll. All right. So 1 century ago, you were wrested from the hand of your bearer and used to slay them. What were their final words to the one that killed them? Okay. This is kind of a different one. I don't know that necessarily fits any of our previous bearers unless we want to... Well, yeah, because that wouldn't really fit. Except for maybe our straight up evil bearer, perhaps is the only one that I can think of. That perhaps our straight up evil bearer wrested it at the hands from the secretly evil bearer and killed them with us. That's kind of the only bearer that maybe I can think that would, because we established previously that our first bearer abandoned us and kind of gave us up, so I don't necessarily think it would be them. Yeah, our secretly evil bearer, what if our secret evil bearer used us against our original bearer, the other blacksmith from earlier, after they laid us down and picked up the sister sword? Oh, interesting. I do really like that. Yeah. Yeah, so what if we were kind of feeling those feelings of abandonment, and instead of necessarily wresting us from the hand of that bearer, our original bearer had already laid us down, and then our secretly evil bearer used us against our original bearer, which is part of why they haunt us as a rock. Yeah. Hey, it's all coming full circle. It's all tying together. It's all coming together. That would also be like, instead of that killing reminding us of our original bearer, that it just was our original bearer. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, Marty. I think that's a good direction for that one. Very good. All right. Oh, next up is a king. King of diamonds. We're up to 3 kings now. All right. So diamonds tells us about our bearer currently. Okay, so your bearer has an old nemesis, someone who has hunted them doggedly since before they found you. Finally, the rivalry came to an head, and you helped your bearer slay their foe, but you were not able to prevent them suffering a grievous wound. Do not discard this card. If it's the 4th king, it's not. It's the 3rd king. The injury your new bearer sustained eventually overcame them, and they died. Okay. I was going to say, is this going to kill our Bink? No, not quite yet. We've still got one more king before poor Bink dies. Okay, so our bearer has an old nemesis, someone who hunted them doggedly since before they found you. Finally, the rivalry came to a head, and you helped your bearer slay their foe, but you were not able to prevent them suffering a grievous wound. So the only person that I can kind of think of for this one is perhaps the person who committed that first injustice that our Bink witnessed. So maybe not somebody who has necessarily hunted Bink, but perhaps it's someone who Bink has wanted to bring to justice for a while. So not so much a rival, but definitely the person that set them on their current path. But that's just where my head goes first, as always. Add an A, haunted, and it fits. Yeah. I think, instead of it being somebody who hunted them, our poor Bink, it's somebody who haunted Bink. He was finally able to perhaps confront the person who set them upon their adventure. Yeah, I think that we'll go with that, unless anybody has any other ideas. Feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay, next up, we've got the Queen of Diamonds. Well, you don't have to go far for that one. Your bearer comes across an ancient treasure, unguarded and unspoiled. Their newfound wealth does not sate their greed. Instead, it renews their desire to continue adventuring. Pull from the tower. Do not replace this block at the top of the tower. Remove it from the game instead. Okay, so we'll ignore the second part of that, but we will roll. Okay, we still have our dice. We're still doing good. All right. So your bearer comes across an ancient treasure, unguarded and unspoiled. Their newfound wealth does not sate their greed. Instead, it renews their desire to continue adventuring. So yeah, maybe since we had established that Bink is kind of currently seeking out stuff in Lorraine Tower to kind of learn more kind of about our past, perhaps they came across maybe they came across an ancient treasure there. Maybe it wasn't even necessarily a wealth kind of treasure like gold or jewels or anything like that. Perhaps it was a treasure trove of knowledge that they came across. And this newfound knowledge, instead of like we were hoping to to deter them, to encourage them to put down us as a sword and retire. Perhaps learning these tales of old heroes only encourage them, and perhaps now they kind of have a newfound trust or will to use us to do adventuring, and yeah, it's kind of renewed their sense of adventuring. Maybe this was perhaps the place where they fought the old nemesis from their past, and that fight in this place full of knowledge also kind of renewed that sense of like, yeah, I can do this. I can be a great adventurer, kind of a thing. I can prevent injustices in this world. It kind of feeds into that previous cockiness that Vink was feeling, that we thought that we had helped put in check a bit, but maybe it's not so much. That's, yeah, I think that's where my head kind of goes on that one. Okay. So, our last card for our adventuring day is the King of Clubs. This is our fourth king. So, let's see what's the result of this fourth king. So you were so wrapped up in your memories of the dark that the present slipped away from you for a moment. When you regained awareness, your bearer was mid-combat, and you were so surprised that you wrenched their hand to the side at exactly the wrong moment. They suffered a nasty wound, and you had best hope they do not realize what you did. So do not discard this card. Place it where you can see it, putting it next to my other kings. If it is the fourth king you have drawn, it is the injury your new bearer sustained eventually overcame them, and they died writhing in agony. Once again, you return to the dirt, waiting for another hand to take you up. The game is over. Man, we couldn't save poor Bink. Kind of a sad ending to our great tale, but I think it kind of wraps it up in a kind of a neat little bow where we were heading. We had established that Bink was going to Lorraine Tower because, we had kind of let it slip that we can exert some kind of control, and that Bink had come to kind of not trust us because of that, and was trying to kind of regain some trust in us, and perhaps that us exerting some control over this poor Bink is what eventually did him in. Marty says, I think it's thematically appropriate for all of our flashbacks and our struggle for control over our wielders. Yeah, it does kind of suck though. It stinks that that has to end this way. With poor Bink being done in. I was hoping that we could convince him to retire. So that's kind of the end of our journey. I do want to read the Prince Yeldo. We'll never get him to the Temple of Slumber. Why didn't you just go to sleep, Bink? Yeah. He's going to the Temple of Eternal Slumber. Okay, so this does have kind of a last page. It's called Your Legacy. So I'm going to read that. If the slow passage of the ages has taught you anything, it's this. Life isn't fair, and history inevitably repeats itself. This game wasn't fair, and whether you remember it or not, you have played it hundreds of times before. Your characters spent hours sitting alone and powerless, slave to a faceless master who used them as a tool. You both waited for a deck of cards and a tumbling block tower to save you, but you both knew that even if success came, it would only be fleeting, and it would be chance that brought you here, not skill or fate or anything you even had a semblance of control over. Did you ever speak to your bearer about retiring? Did they even listen? If you did, of course not. Even if you won, what happens now? Your character sits mounted on an ornamental plaque above a fireplace somewhere, a trophy of battles long forgotten, until another would-be hero takes them up in the quest for riches and fame and abhorrent violence. And the cycle begins anew. Next time will be no different. The weapon will be used, discarded, and forgotten all over again. The next time you won't even be there to hear the story. You will have forgotten, just like all the rest. So yeah, kind of a bleak ending, official ending, I guess, to the adventure. If you get kind of like a bad result there. R.I.P. Bink. Yeah, F's in chat for Bink. But yeah, so that is Go Alone, the game about a sentient sword and trying to get your current wielder to retire. We did only have 2 cards left in the deck at the end of the game there. Let's see. I just want to roll one more time to see if we would have broken. No, we were still going strong. So yeah, so that is Go Alone. What did you guys think? I'm going to kind of say my impressions here now that we're kind of wrapping up. I think that this is a really interesting storytelling tool. I think that it has a lot of really interesting prompts, specifically dealing with creating a sentient sword. I would be interested in trying it again to kind of see how it's different every time that you play it. I did really like doing it this first time around. I wonder how it holds up, kind of doing the prompts in a different order. There are kind of rules for like a quick play version, which is that you start with the Ace of Hearts at the top of the deck, so it's the first thing that you draw. And the Ace of Hearts, if people don't remember from last time, is the card where you can put 10 retirement counters, essentially, on the card, and then every time a day is at its end, if you roll a 6 on the die, you get to remove 1 counter and move more towards retirement. So that's what they kind of count as like the quick rules for this game. And perhaps it's easier to get the retirement result using that. I would be interested in trying that to try and see if that were a possibility. I think that if I had one thing to criticize about this game, because I did have a very enjoyable experience with you all doing it as kind of like a collaborative role-playing session rather than necessarily like a solo one, is that I think that sometimes the prompts want to push you towards a certain type of sword and a certain type of sword user. They kind of implied in a lot of the prompts that you enjoyed violence, that you enjoyed the killing part of being a sword, or that your past bearers enjoyed it in some way. Especially those memories of blood really kind of like point in that direction. And I don't necessarily know that I like that. I know that we were able, it's on the player to kind of make it their own, and choose to not go in that kind of direction. But Some of the prompts, I think, especially, I'm not sure if on playing it over, you would still have that kind of difficulty on keeping it sort of lighter. But I think that some of the prompts were kind of hard to turn into something a little bit lighter. And I kind of wish that the game didn't necessarily push you in such a like a violent or kind of more evil direction. I wish that it kind of kept it a little bit more open in a way. But that's totally a player choice also. You can, just choose to, like we did, to not go in that direction. And I think that that's totally viable too. Marty says, yeah, I think we really subverted the system, but I do think we had to subvert it at several turns. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because, yeah, I there's a lot of language that I would try and read ahead a little bit. That was in the text that I decided to keep out. Because it's especially in the Memories of Blood, there's a lot of language of like ripping and tearing and like just like really violent language. That like I get that you're playing like a sentient sword, but I don't necessarily think that you have to go so like edgy with it, I guess, in a way. And they use a lot of like the same language over and over, kind of like towards that. If there was anything that kind of turned me off of this game a little bit, it would have been that factor. That's just personally for me as a player, it's not really something that interests me, even if you're talking about a talking sword. I don't think that all of them need to be necessarily evil. I think that you can go in a different direction. So I guess that I would just like it to be kind of left more open to different possibilities rather than kind of pointing the player in a specific alignment direction, as it kind of felt like. Marty says, I would agree that I wish there was a wider array of choice possibilities, or maybe just more vague prompts that kept the same flavor more or less, but let you determine those things, be led into these tragedies yourself rather than feeling forced. Yeah, I think that pretty succinctly sums up kind of what I was saying. I just kind of wish that it were more vague than necessarily like all doom and gloom the way it kind of was. But I'm not familiar with the original game that this is based off of, because there is a game that this is based off of, I believe called Wretched and Alone, which maybe that has very similar language. So maybe if they were trying to, sell this as a follow-up to that game, or inspired by that game, maybe that game has a lot of the same kind of language, so they wanted to kind of keep that theme. But I think that we were able to kind of make it our own, make it kind of more lighthearted and fun. And I encourage people to do the same if they decide to pick it up also. But I did think that it was a good storytelling tool. I think that, we did come up with a pretty complete story, I felt like. One that you could definitely craft into some kind of a backstory for a sentient sword, and have a pretty good character concept rolling, or at least, something that you could kind of fill in some of the blanks and kind of fill out more if you felt. But yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun using this kind of storytelling tool. I was kind of surprised by kind of some of the array of prompts and how they kind of made you think about different aspects of not only your past journey, your current bearer, your past bearers, I thought a lot of the prompts were very interesting, even if I didn't necessarily like the flavor of all of them. And yeah, I think that you could definitely maybe even substitute out some of the prompts for your own if you were playing it over and over. Annie says, I think it was really interesting, but agree that sometimes it went a little dark, especially for a game ostensibly emulating the Master Sword. Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, I just think that there were. I mean, I find talking swords to be kind of like inherently kind of like a silly concept. And so I guess for me, I wish that those options for something a little bit sillier were also represented, and in addition to a little bit edgier or darker kind of themes. But yeah, I thought that the card drawing mechanic was really interesting for planning out your adventuring days, and kind of choosing the order in which prompts were done in. I'm not really sure necessarily how I feel about having to roll a dice to determine how many in that adventuring, like quote unquote adventuring day that you draw. I feel like you could almost just set it to kind of a set number of cards that you draw per day. And you could get rid of kind of that dice rolling mechanic. But I don't know how that would play out. Maybe they play tested that and didn't like that kind of an idea. It doesn't really give you any instructions for what happens if you draw all the cards. Although I guess the assumption is that you're going to get all of the kings when you by the time that you reach the end of the deck. So that would end the game if you get all of the kings. Let's catch up with chat. Marty says, yeah, it's intentionally invoking the Master Sword, but seems to still want you to end up with Ebon's Bane or something. Yeah. And he said, I think every prompt certainly made us think and led to discussions, though, which is the point. Yes, exactly. I think that was a really, like, even the ones that we kind of glossed over or kind of hurried through by saying, we had kind of previously established them. I think still made us kind of think more or solidified those things that we had said before. Or maybe allowed us to kind of add to them. And he says, talking swords are silly. What? No. What? No. But I do also have to remind us that as far as like kind of prompts that we had already kind of established, kind of established the answer to, that maybe we were able to move through more quickly, is that we did get to all of the cards of the deck except for 2. So if we had a couple of them in there that it was like, oh yeah, okay, we've already kind of come up with the answer for this, it might have something to do with that. So let's see. And he says, Evan Bane and Black Razor disagree. Black Jammer's Cutlass says, yar. Yeah, Fracture is a real serious sword also. But yeah, I thought that it was a really fun experience. I really liked experiencing it as kind of a collaborative effort. I don't know how it would play just kind of trying to come up with everything on your own. That I really enjoyed kind of the collaborative aspect that we kind of came up with it being as a part of a stream. I liked being able to bounce ideas off of people and kind of create this sword and this story together. Even if I was kind of the driver of it, so to speak. I think that that's kind of a fun exercise in collaborative storytelling in a way. So yeah, I would say overall, very, very enjoyable experience, very interesting prompts. and a very interesting kind of storytelling mechanic. I think that there was a lot of tension given with the dice rolling mechanic and our sword damage. I would be interested in trying it with a Jenga tower also, because that's a little bit. I mean, it's still kind of like chance based, but I guess you feel like you have a little bit more control over it in a way. And yeah, I would be interested in just doing kind of like a set number of cards that you pull each day rather than kind of prolonging the experience by rolling a dice to see how many cards that you pull. And I'd be interested in trying it with the Ace of Hearts being at the beginning and maybe retirement feeling a little bit more attainable at the beginning of the game. Marty says, and ultimately, I think the tragedy was heightened by the fact that we were a conflicted sweet bean of a sword. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It might also be worth noting we got the bad ending, which could have been avoided if Bink had just gone the fuck to sleep. Yeah. Sleep. So yeah. To give a final plug to the system, this is again Go Alone. It is available. I found it on Exalted Funeral. It is written, designed, and laid out by Chris Pizzette. So if you are interested in checking it out, I believe that it is sold out now, but you can check back on it, and hopefully it will be available for purchase sometime soon. So you can try it out yourself. You can make the bloodthirsting blade Megadeth Excalibur, or whatever that sword is called, the super edgy sword of your dreams or your nightmares, and see how that plays out. Thank you, Andy, for dropping the link there in the chat. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. You can set it up to email when it's back in stock. Oh, see, there you go. You can go ahead and do that. And let me pull up the PDF only link. Okay, yeah, there's a PDF only link. I've been using the PDF just on my iPad, because when you get the physical version, you also get the PDF version, which I always love. And it's really easy to kind of scrub through it and find the information that you need. So either way is totally a great way to go about it. So yeah, guys, this has been Soup Goes Alone. Thank you for joining me. I've had a wonderful time coming up with our tale of Bink and Stabitha and Prince Yeldo. It's been a really enjoyable experience. Thank you guys. If you would, please smash a bell, like, leave a comment for us, let us know how we did. If you play the game yourself, let us know how you did. We'd love to hear it, love any interaction. And yeah, thank you everyone in chat for helping out, participating. Thank you, Frank, earlier for the raid. Thank you for everyone who followed and stuck around. It was really great. Thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed it. I would love to do more streams like this if people are interested. Not necessarily with this system, unless you guys would like to see any of those variants that I was talking about. But yeah, I'd be up for doing that, or doing another kind of, I like these little like solo RPGs. They're really fun. So yeah, let us know if that's something that you would be interested in seeing in the future. This Wednesday we have Star Chasers. On Sunday will be Dragon Lords. And then I'm not quite sure what's going to be happening next week. But yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. If you click those bells and everything, those notifications, then you can be alerted to when we are going to be going live and what we will be playing. So make sure to do that if you're interested. Alrighty, that's all from me, guys. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.